entertainment industry. Is there a niche product that actually you're seeking for? Maybe we can start off from there, Pa Alwyn and Ibu Retno, perhaps. Go ahead.
So I'm going to start answering that question. I'm going to start answering with what is venture capital, right? So venture capital is what I like to define as risk capital. And risk capital meaning we deploy capital to companies that are risky for sure, but it may change the landscape for the better. Because again, these are companies for profit. If they manage to make a change in the world, they will make profit and everyone wins. It is risky. So we believe that a lot of our portfolio companies, or even portfolio companies of any investors, will be irrelevant down the road, a lot of them. But we are betting on the winners that may actually bring impact to the world. So now to answer the question,
okay.
we are looking for companies. We are looking for companies that can generate returns for us, but at the same time, to generate returns, it means to be able to touch a lot of consumers as well as a lot of companies in a sustainable way, in the right way, yeah, and hence bringing values.
Thank you, Pa Alwyn. Maybe Ibu Retno, you have something to add?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Retno Dewati. You can call me Retno. I'm principal from Access Ventures. We are an early stage VC firm headquartered in Hong Kong, but we've actively invested in Southeast Asia since 2017. And yeah, maybe to answer about that and also to add what my friend Alwyn already mentioned to you all, I think I would say that the answers kind of like, I can give you the general answers and also the specific answers. The general answer is what do actually VC look for when they want to invest in a companies, right? Because the general answer is we want something that has an exponential growth, something that gives us a room to increase our profit or return on investment in a long-term way. Because VC usually we have like 10 years in terms of the fund tenor, which is first 5 years we usually deploy our money looking for some high growth startups or tech companies across the region, and then the remaining 5 years, usually that's when the time we try to exceed from our investment. So if we do the top-down analysis in terms of what we are looking for, if obviously our main goal is to get the return of investment, I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to saying that, oh, we are trying to empower entrepreneurs and et cetera, et cetera. Yes, it is one of the goals of the VC, but the ultimate goal for the VC as a venture capital is obviously to get a return on investment. And for us to get that high return on investment, we want to significantly, like exponential growth companies. So I think you can only achieve an exponential growth if you really trying to address pain point in the country or whichever market that you are trying to serve. So obviously the general answer is we always looking for great people or great founders, high big market opportunity, and obviously something that has potential to grow in the long term. However, every VC also have different strategies, which what we call as an investment thesis. And TriHill Capital has its own investment thesis, Access Venture has its own investment thesis, and the investment thesis can be built wherever from whether we want to focus on the sector or we want to focus on the stage. It's very different. You've heard from TriHill, their profile, what they're looking for. For us, we mainly focus in early stage, looking to invest in seed and Series A, and kind of sector agnostic, but we prefer to do B2B. So if any of you have a business idea on the B2B sectors, I'm more than happy to talk to you guys and see how we can work together in the future. Thank you so much. Maybe that's all for now.
Thank you, Retno. Maybe from Kadin and also from Minister of Tourism and Creative, you have respond to this as well. in terms of the build of startups and whether we should be looking for a niche idea or something more specific? Pak, silakan. Pak Himam, silakan Pak.
Thank you. We've been dealing with startup from when I was in BPPT 2003, and we deal with tech startups at that time. And when I moved to Kominfo, we start to deal with digital startups, and through up to even in Backcraft era, when I was moved to Backcraft, we also deal with startup. I worked with Retno here at that time. And from that quite a long time engagement with startups, I feel that, we have to realize that Indonesia is a huge country, right? It's a huge country. We have a lot of islands, 17,000 islands, and we have to admit that we have a lot of problems. We can say we are a heaven of problems, a lot of problems in Indonesia. And those problems need solutions, of course, alternative solutions. And for startups to use to turn that problem, the solution into opportunities, business opportunities. And in that time as well, I also learned that, why do we need startups actually? Why we need startups? Why Indonesia needs startups? Because the mentality or the culture of startup is different. Startup mentality is if you fall down or fail 100 times, then you have to get up 101, 102, 105. So, and I believe also startups has this mentality of militancy as well. So when they find the problems, they define the problems, and they try to find the alternative solutions, they're going to stick to it until they can get the solution done. That's why so far we have around 2,500 startups, and some of them already become decacorns, unicorns. So that way, I think from the government point of view, I think startups helps the government a lot. Like I saw the one that has this sorting for waste, for example, right? So that's kind of sorting for garbage. So I think that's one of the potential solution that can be turned into something into economic values for the inventors, for the ecosystem, for the startup itself. So I think I still believe that startups in the near, not just now, but in the near, not just now, but in the near future, we still need a lot of startups. We have a lot of problems. Just now, for example, this is something that's creeping out actually, right? We have a target to have a net zero emission by 2060. Indonesia has a target to have a net zero emission by 2060. And if only the government, if only people that deal with that are concerned with that, doing it, I don't think it's going to be, we are not going to be able to reach that goal. So we need to work together. We need you guys, we need the startups, all the startups, try to focus some of your energy to solving those problems. So, we are trying to build platform, not just regulatory platform, but also financing platform to overcome those challenges. And I believe there is still a lot of opportunities because at one point we also, actually one of the carbon emitter, probably, I'm not sure if not net carbon emitter, but I think there is also potential for us to reduce the carbon emission and reach the goal of net zero emission by 2060. So I think that's the kind of the thing that we are in the business of, and I think we are open to work together with all the stakeholders or the ecosystem. And again, for us, I think collaboration or collaboration, as our minister said, is important in trying to solve all the problems that we have.
Thank you, Pak. Potential solution with collaboration. Pak Biben, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mbak. For I'm from Indonesian Chambers of Commerce actually, yeah, and Badan Britek, Research and Innovasi Technologies. Yeah, of course, from Indonesian Chambers of Commerce, we will support of the millennial, of the youth, yeah, by creativity, by entrepreneurship, by employment network, yeah. Because in our issue right now, more than 70 million is under 35. That's a very huge, and of course, hopefully our destination is, we have slogan, government slogan, and from the private sector, of course, support our roadmap 2045, yeah, Indonesian Golden, yeah, and we believe our millennial generation will accelerate, yeah, to develop our economics with the creative of industry, of course, and from our commitment, yeah, to access to network, to many things to do for youth, for startup business, for access to funding resources, for the character building, yeah, and the support of the access to the bank, to the venture capital. Of course, we do on the that stage. Hopefully, in next years, the government and the Indonesian Chambers of Commerce will support our youth and millennial to creativity industry, to entrepreneurship from 0.2 entrepreneurship will be maybe more higher than 0.25 or something like that, because the higher we get the entrepreneur, the economic development will increase and stable for our develop of economics. In Indonesia Chambers of Commerce, actually we pairing Apple to strike focus alignment with the BRIN, yeah, when the Pak Agus before. Of course, our research, our technologies, our innovations is our asset, yeah, and the asset is, of course, we have to collaboration with the senior, with the junior, with the campus, with the university, with the media, with the industry area. We believe the pentahelix will sustainable and collaboration for development with the government want a 5.30 for developing economics in the next year. Right now, in Indonesia Chambers of Commerce, yeah, many association for youth, for digital technologies, for the something like IT, yeah. Of course, we always, every week, give the socialisasi, give the mentoring, give the reskill, yeah. We believe to support our creativity industry. I think this event, ComsNet, yeah, for the next future, if we have a collaboration and we have same vision, same mission, will be achieved to just not only for Indonesia, but for for our regional. So I am from Indonesian Chambers of Commerce. Really thank you to the organizer, to our strategic partnership, our professor from the ComsNet, and the youth, and Pak Neil. Yeah, thank you for your give a solution, and I believe the solution better if we can bring together to our the same vision and mission. Of course, what we are goals and aims will be achieved as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Biben. Okay, we're open for Q&A now. For the four panelists on stage, anybody would like to ask anything? Okay, Dr. Lita, if I'm not mistaken, go ahead with your question. Can you introduce yourself first, Ibu, and where are you from, your institution? Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Lita Permatasari. I am a Climate Reality Leaders 2020 and also climate activist and also bureaucrat in Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Republic of Indonesia. So many insights. I'm very happy to be here and to be present here. But now we are planning in the era of uncertainty. And also climate change at the other side. I want to know how to manage digital transformation in the era of uncertainty. For now, not business as usual again, because this is a climate crisis and climate change also, you know. How to manage the partnership to the target of partnership for the goals, and how to create the powerful partnership in the era of uncertainty to sustainable living and sustainable business in the future. Thank you.
Okay, Ibu Lita, thank you so much for your question. And who would you like to answer first, Ibu Lita? Ibu Lita, siapa yang mau, Ibu, siapa saja? Okay, maybe we can start with Pak Nel El Himam. Is it okay, sir?
Sure. Thank you, Bu Lita, for the questions. First of all, we have to realize this, right? Digitalization or digitization is actually already going green. It's a way of going green. We used to write it on paper, and with paper then you need to cut down trees, right? Okay. Now you can do it. You don't have to write it. You can, or if you, for example, you're sending mails. For example, I don't know if the millennials here still remember. We used to send postcard. We sent mails, right? Snail mail. We call it snail mail now, through post office, right? Using that, then the mail, for example, has to go through. For example, by automobile, by car, or by train, or even if you're abroad, then by aeroplane. So with that, only that, with digitization, when suddenly you can send emails, you can communicate through digitally, doesn't have to cut down trees and so on, it's already going green. Now, on the other side, you need ICT infrastructure, digital infrastructure, like what? Like data centers. People say that, data centers is also emit carbons. Of course, they require energy, of course. But so far, nobody, I don't think, no one right now try to calculate, compare between, like doing things undigitally and with the digital side. So that's, I think, one of the things that we need to do to compare those digitalization, right? I believe that. Now, of course, we want to right now in tourism, we call it regenerative tourism, and I think we have to call it regenerative everything, right? Even in terms of our effort to digitization, for example, right now, are we living in a better world in digital era, or still, or worse, before digital era? So that's one of the things that we need to do as well. And I guess we are creative. I believe all of us here, human, are very creative. And for example, when we said that we need to go to net zero emission, then you have to find ways to go there. For example, trading carbon credit, for example. If you are definitely emitters of carbon, and then you want to buy credit so that you are able to, to offset your emission. And where do you buy the carbon credit? I think Indonesia has the potential to do that, right? I believe that Indonesia is one of the lungs of the world. Like we produce a lot of oxygen. If we don't cut our trees and grows a lot of vegetation and so on, then we can do that. So I think that's, but I have to say this, Bolita, that we have to work together. We have to work together. And we have, for Indonesian, I know Indonesian is kind of, I have to say this, I have to say in public, ego sectorals in, I think a lot bureaucracy as well, not just in Indonesia, but ego sectoral is prevalent in Indonesia. So when you said that, okay, this is environment is only for Ministry of Environment and Forestry. Small medium enterprise only the job of Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise. If that's the case, that's the way the way we think, then you're not going to anywhere. Remember the African saying, like if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. So I think we need to work together, not just like I said in my presentation, right? ABCGM. So we need to engage everyone. We need to engage our community, our subject of the government. We need to, academician, the expert, we have to engage them as well. And don't forget the media to promote, like said that, like we have to promote, we have to make sure that everybody understand of what we are doing and understand, and then at the end we'll support what we are doing, and will contribute to our effort. I think that's my answer. Hopefully it suffices. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Nel El Himam. Anybody would like to add on? Pak Biben, go ahead.
My opinion, my view and my experience, of course, for the condition factual right now, and the next step future, for the business process, we have to linkage with the green economy, energy transformation. Why? Because we have to balance about the commercial base and your budget base in your company. Yeah, so we have to do for the collaboration, and we go to the bank or go to the venture capital. We have to use like a green economy, green creativity, green human capital. Yeah. Okay, just thank you.
Thank you. Bu Retno?
Yeah, thank you, Bulita. I'm just gonna add a little bit what Neil already mentioned before. I think if you ask what kind of a strong partnership that we can expecting to create a sustainable business, and also in this era of climate change, I can speak from our behalf on the venture capital side. Obviously, we need to work together with the regulator. From our side as an investors, for the past few years, ESG is definitely a big topic everywhere in the world. And that's why a lot of VCs, a lot of private equity, we are looking for some climate tech companies. And Pak Neil mentioned about carbon trading, and I think that's it's also something that is really happening these days in Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and other part of countries like USA or even in Europe. But another example that I want to share here is probably not carbon trading, but also carbon accounting. So we have the government or the regulators who actually kind of creating a framework on what is considered that, that this is that the company already participate in too much carbon emission, and this is how much they have to offset that carbon emission. And that's where the startups, and especially in the carbon accounting, they try to help the companies to understand how much your contribution to the climate change or the carbon emission, and this is how much you need to offset in terms of, to fulfill or to comply with the government regulation. And we as a VC, to make sure that this kind of partnership going forward will, create a beneficial and also help the world to tackle the climate change, we try to keep funding these entrepreneurs, this company who are trying to do something good on the climate tech, be it a carbon accounting or carbon trading. So a lot of things that we have to do. And as the other panelists already mentioned, that it's going to take time. It's not something that we can offset right away next year or 2 years. Even for EV or the electric vehicle, it is true that they, produce less emission compared to the gasoline powered gas. But the truth is actually when the emission that every factory contribute when they produce the battery is also actually quite a lot. So that's why it's something that maybe we can achieve in the future for a long-term goal. And yeah, for us as a VC, that's our contribution. We're trying to keep finding great climate tech companies. We're trying to keep funding them. And hopefully together with the regulators, we can create a greater good for the society. At the same time, creating a great return on investment.
Thank you. Pa Alwyn, would you like to add on?
Yeah, thanks, Bulita. Probably I'm just gonna change the context a little bit. I think Indonesia, we are in a position of strength. In the past 5 years or so, you see when there is a lot of uncertainties going on globally, we are not or almost not impacted at all. Because our economy is largely driven by the commodities. Easily 70% of our GDP is contributed by commodities, be it agriculture, as well as oil and gas, all the hard commodities, oil and gas, minerals, and the commodities are doing very well in the past 5 years or so. When there are trade issues, global trade issues and all, we are not affected at all. So in this case, I would say we are coming from the position of strength compared to the rest of the world. We don't see, when our neighboring countries have inflation of more than 50% at one point in time, we are not impacted at all. The price of eggs are the same, the price of poultry is the same. We should be very grateful of that. And because of that, moving to answer your question on digitization, I think now that we are not under the heavy pressure to change today or change tomorrow, we could take our time. That sounds wrong, but this is a time for us with ample resources to actually do step by step instead of being complacent in digital transformation. And especially on the partnership question that you have just now, probably coming from an angle of a capitalist like us, Retno and I, we always believe that the most companies eventually by the end of the day are for profit. Economy happens because there are for-profit companies out there. So the most sustainable, the economy could only be sustainable if companies are making profit in the right way. I mean, if they spend budget on all these green initiatives, but they are burning, but they're burning cash, it will not be sustainable. It will only be a 2-year project, and then the company's going to shut it off. So again, to be sustainable, the companies need to go. It needs to be profitable. At the same time, optimize all these, streamlining all these fats they have in their operations, in their supply and their sourcing of raw materials and their manufacturing to achieve this green economy. And all requires partnerships with everyone, be it regulators, fellow businessmen, global players as well as experts, and also from the financiers like banks and investors. So that's gonna be how I'm gonna answer your question. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Pa Alwyn. Bulita, I hope that answers your question from the 4 panelists. Okay, Bu? Cukup? Okay, terima kasih Ibu. Thank you so much. Another question from Oke, Bapak, silahkan Pak. Untuk dari siapa Pak dan dari mana, silahkan introduce yourself dulu. Lalu pertanyaannya untuk siapa Pak? Go ahead.
Hello, speaker. I'm Maulana Wiga. I'm from Starfindo Association for Industry, Indonesia. We are association for startup in Indonesia behind of Ministry Industry. So next month we have an Indonesian Investment Forum in Jakarta. Maybe we can invite you guys to come and join our Indonesian Investment Forum in 11 December in our building in PD 4.0. So our question is, and I'm head of investment for that, and so maybe after this we can network. So our question is about like this, maybe to venture capital, to Retno and Alwyn. So we see in 2023, so many startups in Indonesia is going to die. And that's because what? Because the fundraise cannot fundraise in the next stage, and I don't know is about a whole to 2024 going on. So because in Indonesia we have a political election and some things. So in you, maybe Alwyn, you have a landscape in US, you invest in the US, China, maybe in Southeast Asia also. So Retno also doing the same. What do you point of view for the Indonesian investment next year? So please, what is your opinion? Thank you so much.
Okay, but I think first of all, before I answer your question, I'm gonna address, your statement that so many startups are dying in Indonesia this year, and it's actually not only Indonesia; it's in other part of the world as well. Even in the U.S., which is like the most innovative countries in the world, I would say that's a lot of unicorns there and all. There are a lot of startups dying as well, and not trying to blame VC and myself, but I think there is some learning here as well for us, for a VC, and for everyone else, for investors especially. One of the reasons is that probably we don't really see the macroeconomic headwinds that happened for the past 2 years. I mean, in 2020, in 2021, if you read any reports about the tech investment in Indonesia and also across Southeast Asia, most of VC major investors, they invest a lot in the region and inflated the valuation, obviously, but then unfortunately after COVID, with the rate in the US, the interest rate is keep going up, making everything like the cost of borrowing so expensive, and it hurts a lot of growth companies, and it's actually not only like Series B, Series C, or Series D startups, like even like a public companies got hurt as well, and especially in the growth sector. But I would say that it's part of the cycle of the economy. I'm still pretty much optimistic about next year. This year is really bad, I have to admit that. Even like up until now, the deals, the pipelines for us, for the VC, is still pretty much, it's dry. We made quite a lot of startups, but it's just, like everyone is still very cautious in terms of investing. And then we start reviewing our valuation model as well. Is it the right method to value the company? Is it the right price for the company? So lots of going on. But I think next year, we're not going to see the same level as in 2020 or 2021. But I would say next year, and especially in Q2, it's my personal opinion based on what I've read as well, obviously, and then Alwyn can say his opinion. I think starting Q2 next year, we're gonna start seeing some recovery. Probably still tough for growth stage, for Series C, Series D and above, but for seed companies, for Series A companies, we're gonna start seeing a lot of VCs start dispersing money again. And the truth is we have to deploy, and especially when you already close the fund, you already have the money, we have that responsibility to our LPs as well, to our investor, and we have to deploy that money. We don't have choice. So I think, next year, hopefully all the political situation and all is safe enough for Indonesia, no negative sentiment, so that all the foreign investor will keep pouring the money to Indonesian startups. And I also work for a foreign VC, right? But I think so far that's we are still optimistic, and we are pretty much positive about the future of Indonesia. But yeah, just to give you summary, it's part of the cycle. Yes, we have something to learn. You guys want to blame us that VC inflated the valuation and all, go ahead, put all your blame. We're gonna listen to you. We're not gonna deny that, but we're willing to listen. But yeah, I think next year we are getting better.
Great, Ibu Retno. Pak Alwyn, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess going back to my one of the slides in my presentation as well. You know, there are a lot of logos, a lot of companies being invested by venture capital. Most of them will die. Many of them will be irrelevant. But by the end of the day, we are looking for companies who will be able to make impact. And making impact sounds great, but in order to make impact, it needs to bring value adds. And bringing value adds hopefully will generate economic values, right? Because again, we are for profit, both for us as investors, as well as the economy, as well as the market, which is in this case Indonesia. For us, I don't think we are. Yes, there are not a lot of deals, not a lot of investments going on in the past 12 months. You see reports out there saying that VCs are not deploying. I think I need to change the narrative a little bit. It's not VCs are not deploying, like what Retno said just now. We have to deploy because we have our duties as well to our limited partners. It's just that we deploy much more selectively. So in the past 3 years or so, I think our fault. VCs have been investing in have been financing a lot of companies that seemingly great on paper, but doesn't bring long-term values or may not be able to generate economic values. And that is when all the craze happens, and today we see the downfall of a lot of startups. It's part of exploration, of looking for the companies that may be able to generate returns. I think this is also the same for a lot of the conventional corporations, the old school companies. When they start any new subsidiaries, are they expecting that this will be successful? I don't think so. It's just part of the exploration process. But of course, we are to blame. During the past 3 years, we have been investing in companies that may not, again, may only make sense on paper. And that's why late 2022 onwards, we have been very selective in investing in companies. We have been doing a lot of sense check, reality check on whether the models will make or not. But by the end of the day, it is our job to invest in innovations. It is our job to deploy the risk capital that we have. Risk capital, that's what we call ourselves. And hopefully that will still continue down the road. I mean, we have elections every 5 years. That doesn't change. And they will always stay the same down the road. But the potential of the economy of Indonesia will always be there. Hopefully that answers the questions.
Thank you, Pak Alwyn. Does that answer your question, Pak? Any more? Yes, it's on. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Retno and Alwyn. So we see into, and Retno said is maybe recovery in next year, right? What is type of investment, maybe you can give suggestion, what is type of investment next year in Indonesia? Is still looking for valuation, or we can see about the stable business and profitability? What do you think about that? Thank you.
Okay, sure. I think for us, I can't speak for the rest of the VCs out there, but I'm going to speak on behalf of TriHill Capital. So for us, we have always been investing in companies that have clearer path towards profitability. So this is how it works. So if I can share a little bit. Within TriHill Capital, when we, in a very cool way, we say, when we construct our portfolio of companies that we invest, we try to invest in companies that have clear path towards profitability, and most of our investments will be there. These are boring companies. For example, FitHub. You guys that come from Jakarta, you guys may know FitHub. It's a new gym chain that's popping out. They have about 70 branches today. When we invested back then, it was only 2 branches back in the COVID. So the understanding is that we want to invest in companies that can capture the change in consumer behavior back then. That could be one. Most of our companies will be this, like Cepat. It's very clear business proposition. They are fueling the e-commerce delivery. So real companies most of the time. And of course, there will be a portion of companies that are more innovative, more creative in their business models, and we'll still finance that, but just in a lesser portion in our portfolio. So our portfolio construction will this segment of companies will be a lot lesser. But again, this is part of exploration, right? So there will always be more stable companies and a bit of riskier, but potentially more valuable companies down the road. So even until today, actually, for this year alone, we have been investing in 7 companies in the past 11 months. And we are not slowing down in any way, but per year we always invest roughly about 5 to 8 companies. So still deploying always. Just a bit more selectively, I guess. For most VCs, and for us, it's still the same. No problem.
I'll try to answer your question in the most diplomatic way. I think if you ask me sustainable business, profitable companies, or valuation, after all what we have learned for the past 2 to 3 years, I think great business or great companies will always, try to create a sustainable model, which at the end of the day will lead to profitability, and valuation will follow. So obviously we're gonna look at the valuation still because we want to get in the best price ever, but we also, we also try to be realistic, right? And especially with high growth companies. It is true that nowadays we cannot put the growth at all costs anymore, but as an early stage companies, you still have to do that. And because the first thing that you have to do is how to put yourself out there, making sure that you are recognized by your potential customers or your potential markets. And then, but along the way, you should have that path to profitability so that, valuation is just a matter of time that will follow once you have a proven product, you have a proven business models, and we're not gonna worry about that anymore. But yeah, I think, don't worry about next year. You're not going to see 100x multiple anymore. Maybe not even 20x multiple. I would say, I don't know, these days, probably anytime between 2 to maximum probably 10x in terms of multiples. You still can get that 10x multiple on your valuation if you are very early, and then, but you really have a compelling or a culture and business model. But don't expect to get anything above 15x next year. I don't know, in the next 5 years when we are back to the 2020 or 2021 level, maybe we can talk about valuation again. But for now, yeah, I think having the right model, a sustainable one, it's going to be the key for us when assessing the business.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your question. Any other add-ons from perhaps Pa Nel or Pa Biben? Pa Biben, go ahead.
Thank you. The good question, yeah. I like economy outlooks for 2024, yeah, because Indonesia has election, has many things to do. The political party, the next review the former president. So from my side, yeah, I still believe for the creative industry, the market just not only for Indonesian or just for only just the Jakarta area or something like that, because Indonesia has very huge market, yeah, and I believe the startup business is very contribute to our economic, to the stable and to move eligible, yeah, for the business, and will enhance the experience to the competition, yeah, to the winning the competition. So for the startup business, you have to all of you guys, yeah, you have to survive. You have to spirit to the competition, spirit to collaboration, and will survive and give the contribution to Indonesia and to your corporate action. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Nel El Himam. Would you like to add on to anything?
We cannot really say 2024 is, of course, a political years, and we have to kind of already a lot of people are in the phase of wait and see right now. But again, I think some of the trade characteristic of startups, of course, they are militant. So if they have problems, they define problems. They know they have a solution, then they'll do everything. But also it depends, of course, on the ecosystem itself. For example, like funding, which is important as well from the early stage pre-series, series, and so on. So again, it's really an ecosystem that depend on each other. So I cannot really say, but in terms of used to be valuation, of course, also stages of the startup. And remember, also we have to remember this as well. You know, like startup is if you try to find the definition, is basically a temporary organization, right? To start a business. When you already reach a certain point, then you have to switch into a traditional, conventional corporation. You have to have a good management, you have to good financial forecast, and so on and so on. Production, project management, and so on. So remember that. So in the beginning, valuation is important, but later on, once you settle, profitability is probably the most important thing, especially for the investors. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Nel El Himam. Okay, another question from the audience. Yes, go ahead. Silakan, Mas. Di depan. Okay, you can use my mic.
Hello, my name is Harisa Kaman. We're from BBC, from TriHill. Thank you for the insight. But I want to ask, if in the case we already reach the zero net carbon emissions, like many issues has been solved, like changing gas fuels into electricity transportation, and many more. Is it really convenient place to live in? Even though the one that creates emission might be much more convenient after all, because like in the case electric cars, it is way more expensive than the fossil-based transportation.
I guess we need to realize this. What is the purpose of net zero emission? Okay, it was to cap the increase of the temperature to only 1.5 degrees Celsius. All right, this is because of the global warming. So what happened, are you going to trade your convenience, your efficiency for a fuel efficiency, but yet you still produce carbon out of it, emit carbon out of it? And suddenly in 20, 30 years, you live in, right now Jakarta, for example, the average temperature already around 29, 30 degrees, right? 35 degrees, are you willing to do that? So that's the questions. That's consequence. So you have to balance it out and let all this generation, the Indonesian generation decide your future, right? We are trying, right now what we are trying to do is trying to make sure that we can leave our better place for not just you, but also your children, your grandchildren later on.
Okay, thank you. Any add-ons to the question from the panelists? Okay. Cukup menjawab, Mas? Is that okay? Mas yang bertanya? Oke? Ada lagi pertanyaan? Tidak dijawab. Oke, siapa lagi Pak? Silakan Bapak.
Okay, thank you. I have three questions. I don't know who can answer. It's up to you guys. My first question is maybe to the venture capital team. What kind of startups that are good enough in the next, say, 5 years that you think is attractive as a target for investment? The second one is what are the gaps that have to be filled especially in Indonesia in terms of startup category? I mean, most startups maybe they are to do with maybe culinary apps, but maybe there are gaps that are still lacking. And the third one is, do you think, maybe Pak Biben from Kadin, do you think government application, government created applications like our COVID apps created by Telkom, I think, and the Ministry of Health, are worth investing further or worth expanding? And what are the barriers? Is there any barriers because the apps is dying now, right? I forgot the name, but there are so many government apps. Peduli Lindungi, Peduli Lindungi, and are they also maybe then can be replied by, because you guys, government have so many data already, and the customer user space is large, huge. So is it possible to invest further? Yeah. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe the VC first, Ibu Retno.
Okay, thank you, Pak. I'll answer your first and second question. The first question, what startups that will be interesting in the next 5 years, right, in Indonesia? And then the second question is about the gap. I think if we talk again, each VCs they have their own investment thesis in terms of what they're looking for in the sectors, but if I can share my general opinion, I think going forward for Indonesia, I would say two things that will be very interesting going forward. Number one is adjacent to e-commerce. And when I say adjacent to e-commerce, it can be a lot of things, supply chain, logistic, and Alwyn has invested a lot in supply chain, and I do as well actually. Our company, we do invest a lot in logistic and also supply chains. Why I think that adjacent to e-commerce, especially supply chain and logistic, going to be very interesting. It's number one is because the nature of Indonesia itself. We are an archipelago state, country, right? And it has been always challenging in terms of trying to decentralize or create efficiency on the supply chain that can help company to reduce the cost of logistics, the cost of supply chain, and also whoever try to come up with such a robust system to digitize the supply chains or to create any system like be it like a warehousing, fulfillment, or any other kind of supply chain that can help these companies or any e-commerce or any B2B companies run their business efficiently, I think they can win the market, and also they can win the heart of investors. So that's why we've been like very actively looking on that from the fulfillment, from the warehousing, logistics. So that's number one. Number two is I would say credit, because right now Indonesia is the number of middle class is growing very quickly in Indonesia. And with the success of the e-commerce as well, the consumerism, it's going up. And that's why I think credit will play a very important role here. We've already seen a lot of fintech companies, and then we've also seen like a peer-to-peer lending trying to power the SMEs, and also some of the business that in a way they cannot get lending from the banks. So it's still going to thrive going forward, but is it going to be peer-to-peer or any kind of a different credit or fintech? That's something that we're still going to monitor along the way. But those two things will be, in my opinion, it's going to be very interesting, and it's on our thesis definitely when we want to invest in Indonesia. If you ask about the gap, I would say, what do you call it? Like the gap is getting smaller these days in Indonesia. I mean, and especially the gap of funding. I can say the gap of funding from the VC perspective. Maybe back in 2012 or 2013, there's still a lot of gap in terms of funding, but these days we have a strong position in the VC world actually. So I would say that we don't have really to worry about the gap funding going forward. It's just a matter of, how we try to reinvent the playbook of the venture investment, and how our entrepreneur as well learn from what happened the past 2 or 3 years, that you cannot burn all your money that you raise from investor, and then after 12 months you're running out of money, and once you are like the big hero and then all of a sudden you become a zero. That's something that we want to make sure that founders and also our portfolios don't do it again in the future. So I think that's what I can share to answer your first and second questions.
Pak Neil or Pak Biben? Can you perhaps, Pak, repeat the question again, Pak, for the...
I'll answer that. Okay, so first of all, I have to say that Peduli Lindungi is one of the hero of our COVID recovery. Why I said that? Because that application, not just tracking, tracing, testing, and so on, no. But it is one of the key enabler for us to recover, to operate as usual, beginning to recovery, right? For example, I'm giving you one of the, why I said that, yeah. We at that time, one of the creative economic sector that was in decline is movie, in the movie sector, the film sector, movie sectors, because before pandemic there were 52 million in attendance for Indonesian movie, and then 2020 it dropped down to around 15 million, and then 5 million in 2020. Partly because, I think not partly, dominantly is because we have to close the cinema. We tried to open it twice, with no avail, right? And then the last time, what we did is actually, the cinema at that time asked us, like to let them, give them permission to open the cinema on trial basis. And we asked the coordinating Ministry of Maritime, Investment and Maritime, Pak Luhut at the time, and he agreed with, with a certain condition. And one of the conditions that you have to use Peduli Lindungi. So you have to check in Peduli Lindungi. Right? We work together with the Ministry of Health for the protocols, for the health protocol, a Ministry of Internal Affairs, for their, remember there is in Mendagri at that time, instruksi Mendagri, with the things that you can open, so on and so on. And because of that, we are able, I the one who signed and issuing the circular letter for trial basis of opening cinema, 25% capacity, 50%, and then later on 75, and then 100. By using the Pelindungi, we can capture all the statistics, like 95% or on the green, probably 3% on the yellow, and then red, and then so on, and until even the one that are in black, like the one that got a shot, and then the one have that have indication of COVID at that time. Thank God, last year, what happened was record-breaking for Indonesian moviegoers. 55 million attendance in Indonesian movies. So that's why it is one of the, I said, hero of the COVID, for the COVID recovery. Now, if you are said that it's right in decline, when at that time and during COVID, of course, it is mandatory to use the Pelindungi. Right? Check-in everywhere, you have to use that. Even if you go, for example, travel to the airport and you have check-in with Pelindungi. But now it's no longer become mandatory, and so of course, somehow it drops because it's one of the inconvenience that probably we feel. What I think they have to do is actually a bit pivot, like it's usually standard for startups, to pivot and do something else. Now, I think one of the things that I think the biggest opportunities for them is to serve as a database for medical records, to hold, like becoming a central bank for Indonesian medical all health records. So every patient can have an account, and then when we go to the hospital or the doctor, all the diagnosis and everything, even the recipe, what do you call it for receptor? No, resep apa? Obat apa resep? Prescription. You can put it on your account, and it's become your sole property. So even if you go to other doctor or other hospital, they have to ask your permission to access the data. Right now it's the other way, right? You cannot have your own medical record, for example, because it's a property of the hospital. But the law said that it is the content is your rights, your property. So I think that they need to change the business, the pivot to other stuff. And I think we still, like I said, we have a lot of problems, and I think they already have a successful run for the Pelindungi, and I think they need to, they need to capitalize on that success to other success as well. I think that's my answer, Pak.
Thank you. Pak Biben?
Saya mengikuti apa yang lebih kompeten untuk menjawabnya. Mohon izin Pak, ya. Tapi kalau ngomong bisnis boleh sama saya Pak. Ya, thank you Pak.
Thank you, Pak Biben. Okay, another question for the panelists. Any other questions? Okay, go ahead, Ibu.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Latifa. I'm from Indonesian Padi and Rice producer community. Here I want to bring the issue that even the rice production is a stable business, but recently the prices elevate like so crazy. And in this case, by what we talk today, my sector is still so far away from what we call sustainability and digitalization. And sorry. Oh, just got so nervous because like I bring a bit sensitive issue like that. After me as a second generation, I think like the business is not really move or change like that. And then I want to give a question to Biben because we just want to talk about the business. Recently, in my community, we got an offer from Kopra by Mandiri. They just get us like offer some venture capital, but there is what we call like a group also that want to build the application, but still in a closed loop. So maybe if we just want to build and want to collaborate with them, like 100, because it's still closed loop, and then like they want to give us like 1 billion for rice production like that. It will be great because it's never happened. Like in rice production, there is like paddy to rice company, and then rice to rice company that go to retails. So like the supply chain is still so complicated nowadays in Indonesia. And then for the climate and like the whole industry cycle, is there any point of view from all the panelists that me or my community as a industry can be improved so that we can help Indonesia long-term goals like that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Terima kasih Mbak siapa? Izin Mbak, maaf. Hah? Mbak Latifah. Kalau saya sih ceritanya adalah historical, kenapa itu Kopra, kenapa Live-in itu dibuat oleh Mandiri. Aku speak Indonesia dulu deh, agak lebih lancar nih. Karena waktu itu dibuat, setahu saya, Bank Mandiri itu begitu besar, terus banyak bank-bank digital, mau tumbuh ya, terus ada regulasi gimana sih bank konvensional, bank modern. Nah, mereka caranya untuk breakthrough agar Bank Mandiri atau bank besar itu survive adalah gimana caranya mereka adaptable. Salah satu dari clue-nya mereka, breakthrough-nya mereka untuk bisa beradaptasi dengan bank-bank digital yang kecil akan membesar, itu adalah yang tadi Mbak bilang, Kopra dan Live-in. Nah kalau menurut saya ya itu bagian dari how to survive bank konservatif untuk breaking through sampai ke depan, untuk bisa menyesuaikan dan mengikuti perkembangan zaman. Terus kalau masalah mengenai supply chains, ya beras, supply chains, transportation, logistik, itu di kacamata saya itu yang lagi jadi terobosan kita. Ini pemahaman saya ya, bukan berarti saya tahu very details, tapi itu bagian dari bukan hanya konsep bisnis, supply chains atau mungkin kebutuhan primer. Karena bagian dari produksi yang ada atau perlu tambahan import atau bagaimana, itu udah menjadikan need-nya dari government side dengan industri pendukung dari private sector untuk bisa menjadi efisien dan efektif. Ini pemahaman saya lagi, ya sehingga apa yang Mbak sampaikan tadi, sekarang udah kita lihat kok, baik itu BUMN, baik itu private sector, buat yang namanya marketing digital. Kebutuhan supply sama demand ada di dalam satu daerah tertentu. Nah kelihatannya itu masih ada opportunity dari teman-teman mungkin startup, dari teman-teman tempatnya Mbak, untuk bisa mencari how to meet the meet vehicles untuk bisa achieve the profit sama efisiensi dan efektivitas dari kebutuhan mendasar tadi. Mungkin itu aja yang bisa saya jawab ya, karena saya yakin dengan pemikiran-pemikiran ini akan ada terobosan-terobosan dari teman-teman, dari kita semua, terutama kaum muda, teman-teman dari startup yang bisa membuat breakthrough ya, sehingga itu akan menjadi kontribusi yang baik untuk kedepannya. Baik, begitu aja Mbak, terima kasih.
Terima kasih Mbak Latifah, sudah cukup? Oke, baik. Pak Alwyn, go ahead.
Quick one ya, enakan bahasa Indonesia. Pas banget ini di beras ya. salah satu portfolionya TriHill itu sebetulnya bergerak di bidang agri dan terutama beras. Nama perusahaannya Era Tani. Apa yang mereka kerjakan sebetulnya adalah untuk bekerja dengan petani ya, untuk menaikkan produktivitas dari lahannya mereka. Di Indonesia, mungkin quick fun fact gitu ya, di Indonesia itu produksi beras per hektar itu sangat rendah, itu di bawah 3 ton per hektar. Sedangkan kalau di Vietnam itu udah hampir 7, dan di Cina itu udah hampir 10. So emang kita rendah banget, dan problemnya sebetulnya setelah kita berusaha mencari tahu ya satu, banyak smallholders, which is okay kan, emang namanya tani gitu ya. Tapi yang kedua juga masih banyak cara bercocok tanam yang masih old school, masih mengikuti cara dari generasi sebelumnya. Jadi kalau di generasi sebelumnya bercocok tanam dengan cara A, dengan pupuk B, dengan bibit C, ya dari itu aja dijalanin, sudah terbukti kok gitu. Padahal tidak semua lahan itu sama. Ada kandungan mineralnya beda dan so on and so forth. Jadi sebetulnya setiap lahan untuk bercocok tanam itu harus di customize gitu ya approach-nya. Dan kita ngelihat di bawah itu banyak farmers yang tidak mengerti soal itu. Jadi tugasnya Era Tani adalah bekerjasama dengan farmers, membantu mereka bisa improve their productivity. Mereka juga yang to certain extent modalin petaninya, especially petani yang financial literasinya masih kurang ya. Biasanya kan petani habis panen, spend a bit more, habis itu baru nyari modal untuk nanam lagi gitu ya. Kita juga mengedukasi mereka tentang financial literacy dan juga modalin mereka untuk bisa menaikkan produktivitasnya mereka. Dan juga bekerja sama dengan kilang padi gitu ya, kilang padi dan juga sampai ke downstream. So yang kita lihat sebetulnya yaitu masalahnya. Dan kunci dari masalahnya ya edukasi gitu. Dan partner yang benar yang bisa ngajarin mereka untuk improve their productivity. Masih banyak yang bisa dikerjain di agriculture, especially beras di sini gitu. So sebetulnya mencari informasi yang benar aja sih, fakta yang benar aja sih gitu. Dan again tidak ada, kan harus di-customize. Itu sih. Semoga itu menjawab. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mbak Latifah cukup ya? Oke, baik, terima kasih. Any other questions? Any other questions from the audience? Okay, Janet, the first winner, has a question. I'm sure she's been dying to ask this since yesterday. Go ahead, Janet.
Okay, hello. My name is Janet, and I have a question, especially about the supply chain digitalization. So I guess this question will be more aimed towards what the VCs have mentioned and what they have shown a lot of interest in. So actually, during my previous experiences in my internships, I was able to do something similar to supply chain digitalization, but I didn't exactly make the program myself. And I guess for context, I'm an IT student. But we used this program that has already been used in a lot of industries for a very long time to do the same thing. And they also have different modules to do other kinds of business processes. And I'm pretty sure maybe you guys are already familiar with SAP. So it's an ERP system, and you can do a lot of different things like logistics, and you can even manage HR, payrolls, and a lot of crazy things, all the way to like finance and accounting. And in Indonesia, it has already been implemented in a lot of businesses, moving in logistics, accounting, finances, HR management, and a lot of the other modules that I am also not very aware of, for example, like warehouse management. But there's also already a competitor that's already trying to penetrate the market in Indonesia by giving them a product that is much, I guess, more affordable for what the market in Indonesia can afford. So after hearing more about the supply chain digitalization and all the efforts to do that, I was wondering what these startups and businesses are trying to target in Indonesia, like who exactly are they targeting in Indonesia? Because these kinds of products already exist, and even SAP is already a trusted global worldwide like business process program that has been used since the 90s even, because they have been around for a very long time, and they're still constantly updating the terms and regulations and also giving documentation and services to the customers all over the world, straight from Germany and also in the headquarters in Indonesia and also around the world. And yeah, I think that is all for me. Thank you. I would be really happy to hear your answers.
The short answer is startups are targeting SMEs and or UMKM we call it, because here's the thing, right? With SAP, SAP is very expensive, and not all businesses in Indonesia can afford that. SAP is targeting enterprise because they can do a lot of customization. I had a brief stint in a corporate. I was with a Coca-Cola Amatil for a brief, and yeah, they use SAP, and the reason enterprise use SAP is because they need a lot of the customization and all, and SAP can provide that. But for software startups like a SaaS, they don't really provide that at this stage, right? They mostly provide a general SaaS or software which can be implemented to all the small and medium enterprises from the F&B and etc. Let's use the simple example like POS, right? It does exist, even we have the local champion, like for example, we have Mocha POS, and then we have what else, like Luna POS, and before that we already have a big player, I forgot the name, is that Zero? The big one, yeah. Before Mocha POS and Luna POS, we already have a big player, like a multinational corporation, but why Mocha POS, Luna POS at the same time they still work very well? Because they're targeting different segments. And the market is big enough, and even for the existing startups, they still cannot, address the entire market. And that's why the big enterprise, the big company like SAP, and maybe going forward, it's become the, a potential acquire for all these companies, for all these startups in Indonesia. So yeah, the simple answer is, because they are targeting different markets, and their target market is mostly SMEs compared to SAP, who target enterprises.
Quick one, I think just now the company that I mentioned, Eratani. Eratani has been working with a lot of smallholders so today they have been working with few thousand farmers. If I'm not mistaken, about 3,000 plus today, as of end of September. And that's one way to empower micro businessmen as well, because farmers are technically micro businessmen. And you can increase their productivity in this case, increasing their productivity and generate economic values together. That could be one way. Like what Retno mentioned just now, there are a lot of software companies that could actually work with, empower the SMBs, the small medium businesses. We invested in a few as well. Again, some may die. A lot of them will be irrelevant, but SMB is a huge part of our economy and will always be, and needs to be empowered. Just the same with enterprises.
Thank you. Janet, does that answer your question? Okay, great. She's happy. Thank you so much. Any final question from the audience? No final question? That wraps up the panel discussion for this evening. Thank you so much. Bu Retno, Pak Alwyn, Pak Himam, dan Pak Biben, thank you so much for your time and for answering all the questions today. And we would like the 4 panelists to take a group picture first. Photographers, are you ready for the picture with the 4 panelists? Ibu Ratih, is Ibu Ade here? Ibu Ade Melita, is she inside the room? Burati, have you seen her? Okay, no? Okay, that's it. So with the 4 panelists. Bu Ade is here. Go ahead, Bu Ade. Group picture, Bu Ade. And Dr. Rajiv, can you join the group picture? Yes. No? Yeah, Bu Ade wants you to join the group picture. Who else, Bu Ade? And also Professor Huzur. Yes, sir, go ahead. And Professor Venkatesh. One more picture. Ibu Rati, can you also take the documentation? 1, 2, smile. 1, 2, 3. And another 1, 2, smile. Okay, great. Thank you so much for the 4 panelists. I truly appreciate the time given to answer all the questions. And before we end